must command as early and as frequently as possible. So, yeah, I think transition starts from the beginning. I think whenever you decide the level of aspiration you want in the military is the same moment you decide the level of aspiration you want outside of the military. And in the book, there's a quote by Sebastian Marshall that says, a captain, not a general, or a king. And Marshall's point is this: you choose one of the three. If you want to be a king, kings are anointed. They're necessarily chosen. But if you want to be a captain, that's really that level of aspiration is kind of self-serving. It's about being the best of yourself and how you're commanded to be the best of yourself. If you want to be a general, if you want to be that level of importance and significance or effectiveness, then it's about how you serve others, how you make others become captains. And if you want to become a king, you're born with it. Sorry. If you want to be a star, you're born with it. And I'm serious. Like, the Bob Lefset has another way of looking at it. He says, in the music industry, you have four levels. You have hobbyists, journeymen, professionals, and stars. So a hobbyist is a guy that's in the garage. A journeyman is someone who's local, who does local shows. A professional is the guy, the guitarist, the bassist you can call up to back Metallica and Trent Reznor that no one in the audience knows, but the artists know who he or she is.
Yeah.
And then Taylor Swift's a star. Kanye West is a star. You can't choose to be a star. You're anointed to be a star. You're anointed to be a king. Look at it this way. Not every general could be president.
Mm-hmm.
Not every general could be president. Grant won the Civil War. He became a two-term president. Eisenhower, architect of World War II, he became president. But look who else was around them.
Yeah.
Sherman never became president. You know, MacArthur never became president. If I think about Vietnam, Krulak the Elder gave up his chance for a fourth star to tell President Johnson he was wrong.
Yeah.
Stars and kings are anointed. So it's about level of aspiration. I truly believe before it's about transition, it's about the choice to serve and how you choose to best serve. And that, once you've made that decision, you have made the decision whether or not you want to be a captain in uniform or a captain out of uniform. You've made that decision of whether or not you want to be a general with the stars over your shoulders or whether you want to be a general in an industry. They are on both sides of the same coin that is choice.
Well, you write about three people that you're going to need to help you in life. And so if you were to take the captain, the general, and the king, right? Those are the three?
Yep, absolutely.
If you were to take those three, can you translate those into advisors, mentors, and coaches? Are one of those the king, or does that not transfer at all?
It doesn't transfer at all,
okay.
Because I'll use an example.
Well, you could elaborate on those three people as well.
Okay. It doesn't equally translate because I believe the level of what you need to be the level of what you need to be. So, for example, you don't see a lot of 04s hanging around flag officers, but what you do see are the flag A positions that are filled by 04s who have that access. So guess what? Now you've got direct line to an advisor who can help you get to that level. Like, that's what happens.
Gotcha.
That's what happens in the military. You know, like, we see it. We know who those people are, and we're proud for them. But culturally, those are selection mechanisms and tools to breed, I hate to say breed, but to grow that next generation of people at the same level. So it's not necessarily equal or even, but it's also about, time availability.
Yeah.
If a king is a Richard Branson, if a king is a Tim Cook, well, how many captains that are advisors, mentors, or coaches are going to have access to Tim Cook? Not a lot.
Yeah.
They're going to be at the same level. So yeah, there are three groups of people I think you need, and I think you've got to, choose wisely. You need mentors. So you need someone who's 2 tours ahead of you in the military or 5 years ahead of you as a civilian to help you determine the skills, the tours, the assignments, the practices, the challenges you need to have to get to their level. Then you need advisors. And advisors are the people who help you figure out, is all this shit worth it? Is this the experience you want? Mm-hmm. The advisors are kind of like the mirror on the wall. They help you determine, when you put your life together, is it the life you want to have?
Yeah.
And then I can sit as an advisor, and then coaches, instead of giving you outside advice, they help you find the internal advice that you're going to follow. They're going to help you find your own internal wisdom. So there's 3 ways to look at transition then from each of these roles. If I'm a mentor, I'm the person who's 5 years ahead of you, helping you get to where I am or be better than who I was. If I'm an advisor, I'm more oblique to where you are to help you figure out holistically, are you enjoying what you're doing? Are you growing in what you're doing? Are you going to continue to do what you're doing? If I'm a coach, I'm at 90 degrees. I am completely perpendicular to where you are. And I'm saying, look in the mirror. Is that still the you want to be when you grow up? And it's interesting how, like you said, we're all transition coaches. We're all in the transition assistance industry. But there's all these different ways to approach transition because for the military members we serve, there's a whole lot of different ways we can look at it. It goes back to, again, the dip.
Yeah.
The dip isn't jobs necessarily. It's about how we approach jobs. We know how to sell ourselves in uniform. We know how to look razor sharp. We know how to have the perfect white gloves, personnel room inspection. Like we know how to market ourselves as military members.
Yeah.
But that marketing becomes a different skill as a civilian. So a mentor would help you specifically market yourself in the way you want to go. An advisor would help you accept the fact that you have to market yourself. And a coach would just say, hey, guess what? Is this what you really want to serve by? And then those 3 things help triangulate who you are and who you want to be.
Yeah.
So no, do I think they correlate with Captain, General, and King? No. Also, as a writer, I love to alliterate in 3s, so I have to watch myself sometimes because it does sometimes lead to false correlation. Yeah. I know I'm bad at it. But to me, it's about level of aspiration. What level do you want to be? Whether it's Captain, General, or King, or whether it's a hobbyist, journeyman, professional, and a star. And going to that level, that 4-level split, like Bob Lefsett's notes, generals are our stars, literally. Mm-hmm. They are. Mad as a sec death, everyone's happy about it.
Yeah.
They are literally and figuratively the stars of the military. And that's who Trump went with. He went with the stars of the military. Whether or not you agree with politics or stance, he went with the stars, not the professionals. You're not seeing a president pick 06s to be secretaries. You might see them be deputy assistant or undersecretary, but you're not seeing them pick them. You're not seeing them being picked to be at that star level, which makes sense. There are people who join the military because they treat it as a hobby. You've worked with them before. They were not long for the uniform. You've worked with people who have picked the military to be journeymen in the military. And there's nothing wrong with that. You could be an 8-year E5. Nothing wrong with that. You could see the people who joined the military who chose to be professionals about it.
Yeah.
The people like me and others who've decided to make 20 the mainstay. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So
that level of aspiration is one way of delineating how far you want to go, where do you aspire to be. But the people who support you is a little different because they're not necessarily at the same level of aspiration. However, they should help you get to your level of aspiration.
So, would you consider Command Your Transition a guaranteed recipe for success if somebody follows it to a T?
Yes. However, if someone follows the entire book, they would blow my mind because it's more of a cookbook. I mean, seriously. I mean, Tim Ferriss is one of my favorite authors. So I've got Tools for Titans somewhere in my bag. I'm going to read over holiday routine. I kind of wrote this book the way Tim writes all of his books, in that it's a cookbook. So when I talk about strategies for transitioning, whether it's last in, first out, canvas strategy, or study strategy, I don't expect one veteran to use all three of those strategies. Now, that said, it's not just a transition book, it's a choice book. So if I look at those three strategies for how you want to continue your career, last in, first out, what's the last thing I want to do? This is the first thing I join when I get out or when I transfer. Canvas strategy. What are the things I can do or create that help bring other people together? And a great example I remember for that is CompanyCommander.com. Back during OIF, 2004, 2005, 2006, before the counterinsurgency manual was written, company commanders were coming back from combat and were using a offline civilian forum to relay lessons learned and OPSEC and situational awareness and data about the environment to other company commanders going into combat. Like, that is a canvas and a study strategy, which is what we think ratings are, but it's really what the skills are. What do I want to learn about? What do I want to be an expert in 10 years? Or maybe 5 years?
Yeah, gotcha.
What do I want to be good at in 5 years? So I don't expect a veteran to use all three of those strategies to make E8 or to get out, because there's just no time to use all three of those strategies. But I expect them to use a strategy that works best for them. So I broke up the book in this way of how being the year before, the moment you make a choice transition, the book comes into play. You get a year after that, to the point to the day that your EAS to relate or retire. And then the third part of the book is really about that year after, the whole looking back. Did this all make sense? Are you living the experience that you want? Have you gotten down another hole or a hole that you didn't expect to be in, that kind of thing? So you may not need that. Yeah. I mean, ideally, an ounce of prevention beats a pound of cure. If you think about the strategy, if you think about the stance up front, and honestly, the one lesson I want veterans to take, I think every veteran should take, is the fact that every year equals a month, or every $10,000 equals a month. That would do huge dividends for being the ounce of prevention against the pound of cure.
Yeah.
So, I believe a veteran, if anyone takes this, I think they can go as far as being a flag officer as well as commanding the transition outside. However, I think it's about being honest about what parts they need and using each part they use to the very end.
It's you haven't gone through the process yet, but I can vouch that. So 10 years in, right? So that would be 10 months to unwind. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. So
that'd be right.
I can actually vouch that it will take you longer to unwind, but I can also vouch that there's a lot of unwinding. Like there's even unwinding once you finally get your job, and then you have to figure out your role, and then your role compared to this person's role, and then you're unwinding that whole, in the military, kind of like mentioning, back in the day, like, believe me, there's a lot of, when I was in the Coast Guard or when I was in the Marine Corps, it's like, if you've ever met anybody from Okinawa, you're like, shut up with when I was in Okinawa. Back in Okinawa, like, that's all you say. But when you get the civilian job, you do that, and it takes probably 10 months to unwind there. So I'd say, like, unwinding, finding yourself as a veteran, and then unwinding and finding yourself as an employer. So there's some food for thought. But what would you tell veterans who have already transitioned and they're finding themselves struggling today?
The struggle is still, to me, whether it's a year from now or 6 years from now, it's still a struggle of why. I think it's still a struggle of why did you make a choice that's causing you struggle? And that's the hard part to answer is we feel like I've always made the right choice. I'll just keep making choices instead of murder boarding or after actioning. Well, why is a certain choice leading to you feeling frustrated with a certain set of circumstances? And it's really divorcing your choice from how you feel about the choice help